we've been talking a lot about transformational communication, transformational questions, and from the individual perspective, what do we need to do as coaches to really support our coachees to be reflective and to really dig a little deeper. So now let's shift it over to a team. How many of you actually work with teams right now? So almost everybody around the room. And when we work with teams, it's a little different dynamic, right, than working with one individual. There's more personalities in the room, there's more going on for us to be paying attention to, and it's a much more complicated process for the coach to be paying attention to so many things. And so when we think about what are we going to do that's going to further that team, and how do we actually coach a team, one of the things that I'm discovering as I am exploring team coaching from a doctoral research perspective is that we actually have quite a few different definitions of what team coaching is and how coaches are interacting with their teams. And so when you do your team coaching, what are some of the ways that you interact, and how do you really define team coaching? What is it that you're doing?
Well, I can give you an example. One example is with the company BMW, and what we did is we were coaching the managers, but then we brought all the managers together, and we actually conducted it quite like a normal coaching session in that it would start off with what was present for them and what they wanted to discuss. The difference was that all of the managers in that department would be participating together.
Okay, great. And so when you contracted that, what was it? Did you see them regularly? Did you have any pre-assessment? What kinds of things did you do?
Yes, all the managers did a pre-assessment, and we also did one for the team, so that the team understood everyone's individual assessment, so they got a sense of what that team was like, and then the team coaching occurred monthly.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, great. And anybody else, thank you for sharing that one, Nancy. Anybody else, what do you do and what are you contracting when you do team coaching?
We're in the process of doing one right now. So we first of all meet with the leadership team. Well, leadership I mean president, CFO, before we meet with the management team, to see what are the issues and why they're bringing us in. So what's their sense of what's going on, why are they bringing us in? Once we've had that conversation, then we meet with the whole team so that we have a little bit of background. Then we meet with the whole team to see where they're at and what their concerns are. And then we're going to devise the plan from that place.
Okay, great. And what outcomes do you usually work on with the team?
Usually they're wanting to have better rapport amongst themselves.
Okay.
Oftentimes there's some conflict going on within the team, often based on personality differences and whatnot, different expectations, accountabilities that aren't being met according to somebody's perspective, whatnot. So
Change, also
change is going on.
management.
Yes.
Environmental change, where they're having to meet a demand in the environment, and they have to get up to a certain level of collaboration in order to meet that more effectively.
Okay, great. Most people that I've talked to are doing similar things that you're doing, which is to really focus on style, using a style assessment before they work with the team, getting a bit of a needs assessment done. What does this team need? What's going on for this team? And then talking about what are the different styles within the team and what does that mean in terms of the way that they work together. One of the things that's been really interesting in taking a look at team coaching, which is evolving a little bit the way individual coaching was evolving and leadership and business coaching was evolving around 15 years ago, which is what we do and how we talk about it and what those interventions look like are starting to evolve. And as much as we've been focused a lot on dynamics with teams and the interpersonal relationships, how many are using style assessments like DISC or Insights or MBTI, lots of nods in the room, that's been a real kind of starting place and a real focus for most of the team development work that I'm hearing people do. And so as we think about what are the possibilities for us in terms of team coaching, that's a great starting point, you know, and seems to be the starting point that actually businesses are willing to pay us for, right? What do they want to hire us for? Often I'll get a call, you know, can you come in and do an offsite for us? And can you take a look at how we're interacting and what we need to do as a team? And so to be a pretty vague request like that, very much focused on and inspired often by the fact that they're having some interpersonal concerns. In doing some of the research around what is the evolution of team coaching, what are people working on, and what is some of the new opportunities in team coaching, Peter Hawkins, who's the consultant that's been working with my partner and I, has just written a book, literally just wrote the book last summer, in summer of 2011, and what he focused on was a continuum of team coaching. And what's been really interesting about that is how it's mirrored some of the evolution that I've been doing as a team coach over the past 15 years, and how I've looked at how do I help a team play bigger than they're playing currently, and how do we move beyond just the interpersonal dynamics into why the team is together, which is ultimately to get results. Right? It's all about the business performance. Now, what I have found interesting, and you may find this too in your work, that because the request often comes in the kind of package of interpersonal dynamics, and can you help us with managing conflict and understanding style, we have a tendency not only to start there, but also to stay there as a coach. And maybe not help the team evolve, or really look at how we can evolve our coaching to match a bigger game about things. So one of the things Peter Hawkins did and has looked at as his team coaching has evolved over the years as a consultant and coach out of Bath, England, is he started to look at what's the continuum. So if we take a look at the first sort of focus area, this dynamics area and so on, that really gets into some team facilitation. And it may look like that dynamics. It also may look like coming in to facilitate a meeting, right? Now, lots of us in the room would say, that's not really coaching, right? If you're just focused on the process of what's going on. So I think that most coaches have evolved beyond that first step. And if the client has asked for that initially, that can be an entree, right? So the next step is to really take a look at what's the performance of the team and what is happening in the team that's supporting the team to be more effective and more successful at whatever goals that they have. And this kind of team performance coaching was something that I was introduced to probably about 9-10 years ago. And it was working with a team with a colleague. It was the first time he was doing team coaching, and I had been doing team facilitation and development work for about 5 years and setting up different programs within companies. And what we decided to do was get some consultation from a woman who at that time had just written the book on team coaching, and it was on high performance coaching, Cinder Niemela and her partner Rachel Lewis. And so as I read that book and as we got consulting from them, what I realized is what they were calling team coaching, I said, wow, this is what I have been doing for years and calling it team development and team chartering. And so this was the next evolution of team coaching, and I thought, it was great because I thought, you know, here I've got some experience in this. It's about the dynamics. It's about how they're working together, and it's also to get them thinking about what is it that they need to work together to do. So starting to focus more on the results versus just the interpersonal dynamics. So that was a great iteration, and was where I had spent a lot of time, and I hear a lot of coaches spend a lot of time at this point. So then if we take a look at Hawkins' model and say, so what's the next step on the continuum? What's the next possibility that we as coaches can embrace? And most importantly, as we embrace it, we can help our clients move along to play a bigger game than they've been playing. And this is really in the area of leadership team coaching. And so not only looking at what's the task and what's the process, but what are the stakeholders who are invested in this team, who are looking at this team to get results? What do those stakeholders need? So it's starting to take, in this third level of the continuum, a look not just inside, internal to the team, but starting to look at external to the team. What is it that other people require of us? What is it that we need to deliver to our board? What is it we need to deliver to our employees? What do we need to deliver to our customers and stakeholders? How do we need to be, and who do we need to be, and what needs do they have for us? And so as we think about that arena, how many of you are starting to move or have been in that direction for a while now, taking a look at external stakeholders? A few of you.
Yeah.
Perfect. So that's kind of the evolution to say, how do I get some feedback from those stakeholders? How does the team get some feedback from those stakeholders about what's really needed? What does this team need to step up to deliver? What's really great about getting that broader perspective with the team is that it really helps the team focus on what their purpose is. And I think one of the things, and certainly some other researchers, Wageman and Hackman and some of their colleagues, have written since about 2005 about leadership teams and what makes them successful. And one of the things that they have noted in their research is that focusing on interpersonal dynamics for the sake of interpersonal dynamics is actually not that productive. Right? To just sit there and talk about our relationships and how we get along isn't something that really necessarily supports the performance of the team and doesn't necessarily actually lead to outcomes that are better for the individuals either. It doesn't necessarily resolve the conflict. So their thinking is, interpersonal dynamics really are only a focus if it's clear they're interfering with the ability for the team to do its work. Otherwise, sometimes the interpersonal dynamics are a byproduct of having a structure for the team that's not really effective. And so one of the things that they've put together in Wageman and Hackman's work is to take a look at what are some of the factors that really are important to have in place for high-performing teams. And the way that they did this is they did interviews with a couple hundred teams across the world, across North America and other areas, and when they looked at those teams and did interviews and they did some review of the financials and they looked at customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and various other metrics that were available, they sort of scaled those teams from the top quartile performers to the bottom quartile performers. And what they found was in the top quartile performers, there were some things about those teams that were distinctly different than the other teams. And some of those factors that they found to be important were having the right team, which means having the right people on the team who have the skills and abilities to fulfill the clear, compelling purpose of the team, having that structure in place that helps them do that. So those were a couple of the factors that they felt were really, really important.